Okay, today I'm going to talk about how to make an icon in Adobe Illustrator. So the first thing I'm going to do is start Adobe Illustrator. So I have the application running here. I'm going to start with a blank document by going under File, New. And in this case, since I'm making an icon for a screen, I'm going to use the color space RGB. And then I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to give it icon. There is an option for naming here. Size-wise, I'm not really going to worry about it at this point. You can make it any size because we're going to be using Adobe Illustrator to make the icon, so it is a vector. And that vector object we can pretty much scale to any size in an app or on a website or any other device that we put it on. So I'm just going to put it in a square document of like 500 pixels. And that's what PX stands for. There's pixels by 500 pixels, and RGB is the color space, and I'm going to hit create. It should make a blank document. To zoom out or in, I'm going to use command minus, and then command plus to zoom in, command minus to zoom out. If you put your finger down on the space bar, the cursor will turn to a hand and you can move your window around. So I'm going to kind of put my window towards the center here. Next, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit in that I have taken a screen grab of a camping icon. So my icon is going to be an icon about camping. And so I have a bitmap or a photograph of a icon, and I'm going to convert it into a vector and then change it, the color of it in Illustrator, and then save it. So I'm going to use the place command inside of Illustrator to place the bitmap in. So I'm going to go under File, Place, and I'm going to go to my screen grab, and I'm going to hit Place. Again, this is just a bitmap image that I have taken from a website. And then I'm going to drag it kind of almost a full size. So once you use the place command and you find a bitmap image, it'll ask you to place it onto your document. And I'm going to start in the upper left corner and hold my left mouse down and drag to the lower right corner here, and it'll place that bitmap image. Now again, this is not a vector image. It looks kind of vector, but it's really a bitmap because it's a screen grab. So if you know how to take a screen grab on your computer, it's Command Shift 4, Command Shift 3, or if you're using the Windows, you would use the snipping tool. But beside the point, we want to convert this into vector so we can do something with it in Adobe Illustrator. To convert it into a vector, I'm going to go under Windows, and we're going to use the image trace option. In the image trace option, we're going to leave the kind of default what is here. It says black and white, which is fine. We're going to, you can color it later. But under the advanced option, if I twirl that advanced option down, you'll notice there's one that says ignore white. I'm going to turn it on, so anything that is white in this bitmap image will be gone, and you'll only be left with the black vector area. So I'm going to hit ignore white and then hit the trace option. Now it doesn't look like it did much, but it really did. It did convert it into a vector. I can close this window now by hitting the X in the upper corner. I'm done with that. But before I can do anything to this icon or this camping kind of graphic that I've made here, I have to ungroup it or break it apart. To do that, we're going to go underneath the Object command here, or pull down menu, and use the word expand. What that does is it'll convert it into an object that we can work with. And if we hit the word OK here, and now it's an object, and it's an object we can actually color and move and scale. So if you look at it, I can click on it and move it around. You should see some blue lines around the outside of your object here. And in this case, if I try to color it, it probably won't let me color it because it thinks it's black and white, and you have to actually convert it to a color object. So another option we have to do before we can even color this is tell Illustrator I want to put color in here. It's just I don't want to call it a bug, but it's just a feature of the program. And then I have to go under Window Color. And under Window Color, you'll notice you only see grayscale kind of colors in the color window here. So what we need to do is we need to go to the upper right corner of the color window here and hold that down and say RGB if we do this, it'll then allow us to change this to a color object. I don't know why it makes you do that, but then you have a whole color option here, and I can click on any of the colors in the hue down here and turn it into an object. Let's do a nice orange kind of color there. How about that? Almost done with our icon now. I'm going to close the color box. Next, I'm going to scale it a little bit. Inside the program, if you put your cursor in the upper corners, you'll notice there's little squares that go around the outside. If I click and drag, it'll allow me to make my object bigger. And so I'm going to kind of scale it to the size here. It might be a little bit warped and a little distorted here, but that's okay. And that looks like a good icon right there. So if you want a plain icon without no lines around it or anything, you can just do a simple shape like this. You can move it simply around by using the arrow keys on the keyboard. That's what I'm doing with, if you see it moving there without me moving the mouse, I am using the keys on the keyboard. Once it is done, it's pretty much close to, that's what I want. So there's several ways you could save this. You could save it as an Illustrator file, or you could save it as a SVG file. Both of those, or if I was going to put this on an app in Xcode or any of the app design, I might save it as a PDF. All those save options are located underneath File, Save As, and in the Save As window we can give it a name. Right now it's going to give it an Illustrator name, so we're going to call it Icon, and I'm going to hit Save, and I'm just going to use all the default settings and hit OK. Again, if you want to save it as something different, like a SVG or a PDF, you go under File, Save As, and inside there is formats there, and I'm going to save as a PDF as well, and hit Save as well there. So both of those I can then use all the default settings here for the PDF and hit Save again. So that is how you can make a simple icon from a bitmap image inside of Illustrator.